Why is it that Pope Francis's fine words about making the world a fairer place bring us no closer to closing the income and wealth gap? Pope Francis himself complains about the huge disparity that exists when it comes to income and wealth. We therefore must conclude that the rich take, as they have repeatedly taken throughout the time since Jesus, the eye of the needle threat with a grain of salt, and have resolutely continued to hang on to their wealth while they are still alive. Pope Francis also conveniently forgets that slavery, which in some ways is the ultimate form of economic disparity, was quite okay both in the Old and the New Testament. Not only was it okay, but in the New Testament, slaves were encouraged to return to their masters even if their master was mistreating them. The slaves would, they were reassured, receive their rewards in the next life. The Pope also opportunely forgets that when Jesus tells people to get rid of their wealth, it is in order to follow him and forget about tomorrow. If you truly believe that following Jesus after giving up your possessions is the right thing to do, you should understand that there will be no growth, no income, and no pension. In terms of corporate malfeasance, perhaps the Pope should embrace corporate exorcism to prevent the large corporations from doing harm in the developing world. For those who believe that this is too far-fetched, even for the Church, consider this. An Italian archbishop has called for the entire planet to pray together in a worldwide exorcism to defeat the coronavirus. The pandemic has hit the Roman Catholic Church with cash flow problems in much the same way that businesses have suffered the effects of the pandemic, induced economic contraction. These businesses are looking for taxpayer-funded handouts to allow them to survive. In the U.S., quite a few dioceses of the Roman Catholic Church have had to pay very large amounts in settlement as a result of sexual abuse by the clergy. Some dioceses have even sought bankruptcy protection. When financial trouble hits the Church, the Pope and the clergy do not resolve it by praying to God for more funding which, not incidentally, God could very easily have arranged. No, there is no asking God for more funding. There is a very worldly approach to securing more funding, namely by lobbying the U.S. government to get an exemption from federal rules. Many economists warn that the more improvements we make to artificial intelligence, the more ordinary work and workers will be made redundant. If that is the case, there will be fewer and fewer very well-educated people who will have a larger and larger share of the economic pie. Whether or not we believe that artificial intelligence will take over most of our jobs, we should at least acknowledge that it is complicated to level the playing field, and when that is attempted, there might be unintended consequences. Consequences that, frankly, we may not want to live with. Inequality is, admittedly, a great problem. We may need to conclude that we have no adequate answer for how to deal with it. We must confront our feelings about financial inequality and answer a number of vital and difficult questions. Do we first want to redistribute within our own family? Do we first want to redistribute within our own community or our country? Do we perhaps want to redistribute throughout the entire world, since we who live in the rich part of the world are incredibly well off compared to the poorest parts of the world? Do we mind very great inequality as long as our own standards of living increase? Is it so important to us to find solutions to creating a more level playing field in terms of income and wealth that we can live with an outcome that could mean a perhaps substantially lower standard of living for ourselves? An Occam's razor question could be, if we are created unequal in terms of our abilities, how far can we reasonably go in creating a level economic playing field? We may even question why God distributed our abilities so unevenly. The God we read about in the Old and New Testament does not seem to be concerned with economic unfairness. Alms for the poor will normally do it. Freeing male slaves after 6 years of service is a step in the right direction. God could easily have fixed all those vexed issues that the Pope finds the need to complain about. Jesus died for all our sins, even the ones yet to come. Do we not see that the Pope finds himself engaged in an uphill battle with very little help from the Lord?